Everyone, what's going on? I want to welcome you guys to another live stream. So I don't know if you guys tuned in yesterday. We had I guess it was our first Guns N' Roses podcast, and yeah, we had a discussion about the new Guns N' Roses tour and everything that we thought was going to happen in 2017. Now, one thing we were a little disappointed with, and somebody commented afterwards, is that we didn't really answer fan questions, and that's something I want to do today. So we'll do it. I'm going to be doing another podcast tomorrow with a new guest on, and so we'll probably be doing our first round of fan questions for the first time on our podcast tomorrow. But I wanted to cover a couple things in today's video. So I want to thank you guys for all the support. I just hit 4,000 subscribers. I think it was yesterday, and moving on to 5,000. Hopefully hit that even sooner. And also want to answer any of your guys' questions. Maybe you didn't get answered on the podcast yesterday, and then tell you about some of the stuff I've got coming on my channel probably the next couple weeks and later on in the year. So I got up at 4 a.m. in the morning today. I was so excited about Guns N' Roses, playing their first show in Japan. And like a lot of people, I think the first thing I went to was, the set list on my GNR forums. And of course, it was the same set list that we've seen time and time again. But the second thing I was really looking forward to was, of course, Axl's voice. And I think every show they do, the first show of the new leg of the tour is always not the best, because it's like a warm-up show for Axl. And I'm not going to see Guns N' Roses until August, like late August, like pretty much towards the end of their 2017 tour. So I think by the time I go see Axl, I think his voice is going to be probably in the best shape it's going to be in 2017, which is really good. So we got a question here from Tim Holden. He says, how do you think the new Guns N' Roses material would sound like written by Axl / and Duff? I think if I had to speculate what new material is going to sound like, I think it's going to sound a lot like Chinese Democracy in terms of, the styles of the songs. Like from what Axl said in that Chinese Exchange interview, he said that he's shown Slash and Duff some material and they reacted positively. One can assume it's probably a lot of the leftover stuff from Chinese Democracy, some of which we've heard, like Silkworms was leaked and it was played live a couple times. So I think it's going to be something similar to Chinese Democracy, lots of guitars, lots of production. I read that book, Last of the Giants, and something that the author said is that Guns N' Roses are working on completely new material and they're not working just on Chinese Democracy stuff. So I don't know if there's any truth to that. My guess is going to be Chinese Democracy leftovers if they actually do that. So can you guys hear me on the actual, someone guys said they can't hear me. So can you guys hear me on the actual live stream? Please just type in the actual chat. And it seems like from a lot of the comments that you guys are writing, I think music seems to be like the new music seems to be the number one thing that you guys want to actually hear. So I think that's probably mine after the tour. But, you have to remember too, like 3 years ago, if you had told me Guns N' Roses were going to reunite and all they do is tour, I probably would have been happy with that. But, like a lot of people, I want to see some new material. But I think Guns will play Rock in Rio this year at the end of September, and then they'll come back and maybe take the rest of 2017 off, or maybe Axl will go do AC/DC for a bit, and then Slash will go do his solo project, and then maybe 2018 we'll see some Guns N' Roses new material. But I think 2017 you're going to see some sort of anniversary for Appetite, like maybe one thing we speculated on the podcast that you guys may have not heard was that I wouldn't be surprised if Izzy showed up for like a Troubadour show and Steven did on the 30th anniversary of Appetite. I think that'd be cool. There's two questions which are sort of the same. Any news from Izzy? Any chance we'll see Izzy? You know what? I don't have any inside information, but I think one can assume, and the approach that I've always taken is if Axl and Slash are able to mend fences and Axl and Steven Adler are able to be fine with each other, Izzy will come back at some point, probably not in like a full capacity role or a full member role, but I think he'll make an appearance here or there. And, I think he'll come play a couple songs, maybe play one show, and that's about it. Will Hewitt's asking, how much of a desire do you have to someday see Slash featuring Miles Kennedy? I've actually seen Slash featuring Miles Kennedy. I saw him back in 2012 when they were touring on Apocalyptic Love, and it was actually a really good show. They played a theater of about 2,500 people. I think it was pretty much sold out, and it was a really good show. I think Miles is a great singer, and you know what? They did great justice to the Guns N' Roses material. And I would definitely go see Slash again. And the tickets were reasonably priced. I think I paid $60 Canadian for my ticket, and I had a good view of the stage. I was way in the back, but when you're in a 2,500 seater, like any seat is pretty much good. So I would say that, yeah, I would definitely go see Miles Kennedy and Slash again. So another question we have, and a lot of people in South America want them to come back. Will they? One person's asking, they need to come back to Argentina. Do you think they'll come back to Argentina? They will at some point. The thing I'll find kind of weird is if they go play Rock in Rio in Brazil, that they don't go play any other shows during that time. So I think if they're going to play Argentina in the next year or so, it's going to be around October of this year. But I don't hold your breath on it. They played Argentina last year already, so we'll have to wait and see. Somebody asked me, Art Street asked, have you read Stephen's book? I haven't. I've actually got it in the queue. I'm going to read it, but then if you guys saw my Slash review, I was complaining that he talks too much about drugs in it. And somebody said, if you thought Slash talked too much about drugs, wait till you read Stephen's book. So I'm kind of hesitant to read it a bit, but I've heard it's good. Have you guys read Stephen's book at all? Just let me know in the comment section. I am going to have a review of Guns N' Roses Photographic History, their book by Robert John. It's going to be on my channel next week. And I think you guys might be pleasantly, surprised by what I have to say. I actually have a good number of critiques and criticisms about the book, even though it's still a really good book. Somebody's asking me, hey, Bailey's actually in the chat. He was on a podcast yesterday. So it was great having him on. We'll have him on in the near future. Any chance you think Guns might play Lollapalooza in Chicago this year? I don't even know when Lollapalooza is. They're going to be touring pretty much all the way from May all the way through middle of September. So I don't know if there's going to be any chance of Guns N' Roses playing Lollapalooza. There was some rumors a while back about why Guns N' Roses were not playing some of the big festivals in England, like Donington, I think was one of them, or Download Festival. And they said they turned it down because they can just go play, their own concerts. They don't really need to headline a major festival. So I think... I don't know if they'll play Lollapalooza. I can't even spell Lollapalooza in Google right now, but it depends. I think it's going to depend on where their schedule is and whether they actually have room to actually do it. Laura's asking, is it true Izzy moved to Spain? I'm not too sure. Izzy lives in California from what I'm aware of. And I know from talking to Bailey, I think it was him who mentioned that Izzy's going to be releasing like a solo album soon or some more songs down the road. Will Hewitt saying, with how scaled down the second North American tour is, I don't see them touring Latin America again. Do you guys think that the North America tour was the second one's going to be more scaled down? I mean, they're playing smaller cities than they were before, but I mean, I imagine it's still the same stage setup. Tim Holden is asking, would you like to hear a movie soundtrack with all new material from Guns N' Roses and Axl and AC/DC? I definitely would like to. Any new material I could hear from Axl, whether he's in Guns N' Roses and AC/DC, would be great. I think I'd definitely much like to see that. Ethan's Bass says he's read Stephen's book. A lot of drug stories, though. I kind of figured that was going to be the case. Street, I like their question. Any more true stories coming up? Yep, I actually filmed one today. I'm not going to tell you guys what song it is. All I'll tell you is it's off Use Your Illusion 1. And it took me about 2 hours to do the whole video and like do the research. And I think there's also a little snippet from a Guns N' Roses concert that I think you guys haven't seen before that I think you guys will probably enjoy. So it'll be coming, I think, on Friday morning. You can expect it. I haven't filmed any more true stories, but I'm going to. I have like 3 or 4 songs I've already researched and stuff. So there'll be more coming in the future. I plan on doing all 80 some Guns N' Roses songs at some point. So at the rate I'm going at, it'll be 2020 by the time I'm done. Johnny wants to know what's the future plans of GNR. You know what, Johnny? My information is just about as good as yours. As far as I know, they're going to be touring till September. They may take a break, and then Slash will go do his stuff. Duff will do his solo project. Axl may go back to AC/DC if I have to guess. Then maybe they'll reconvene and put out a new song or something. Chad wants to know, have you heard if the set list has changed in Japan from last year? Well, I don't know if you saw my video today, Chad, but they did not change the set list really at all. It's the same songs they've been playing over the last year. I think somebody mentioned the alternates that they had, sometimes switched out. They didn't really even play any of those. I don't know if My Michelle was played or Out to Get Me was played last night, but I think it's going to be the same stuff you're going to see. I think when they maybe go do their second round of North America dates, they may end up changing their set list a bit, but we'll have to wait and see. Bailey wants to know, do you think they'll play Rock in Rio this year? I think they could. I mean, if you look at their history, 91, they played Rock in Rio 2. 2001, they played Rock in Rio 3. 2004, they were supposed to play Rock in Rio in Portugal, but they had to cancel that because I think of Buckethead. And then 2011, they played Rock in Rio again. And then, it's like they played every 10 years. And then, they may try to play it in between. But I think there's a good chance they'll play it. And then maybe they'll add some South America tour dates. So I'll maybe talk about some of the other stuff. So if you guys missed it, so I'll be doing another true story video on Friday. I've got the Guns N' Roses photographic history review coming on next Saturday, I think. And then one thing I wanted to do on my channel, and this is something really different that I've never done before, that I thought maybe you guys can give me feedback on whether you like it or not. This is going to be, and I wanted to make my wife listen to the different Guns N' Roses albums. So maybe have her listen to Appetite for Destruction first. And then, she's not a Guns N' Roses fan, just to give you some perspective. Like, she likes, the songs you hear on the radio, but she doesn't know some of their deeper cuts. So I thought it'd be interesting if she listened to Appetite and then Lies and then the Illusions records and just gave her opinion on them and thought said what she thought about them, what were some of her favorite songs on them. And then I thought it would be cool if she actually, because she's an English major and she's really good at reading comprehension and dissecting lyrics and what they mean. I thought it might be cool if I play her some Guns N' Roses songs and she gives me her thoughts on what the actual lyrics mean, because I'm terrible at that. So I think that could be an interesting feature to do. She had an idea where I play her a series of songs and she has to guess what song is which one. So I thought that could be another interesting thing to do on the channel. But those are just some ideas I'm floating around. Definitely for the next month and a half, there's going to be a ton of coverage of the Japan tour. By I think in 12 hours, Guns N' Roses or 15 hours, Guns N' Roses or so are going to be probably done their next show in Japan. So we'll see how Axl's voice will be. I don't know if you guys listened to any of the footage from the show today, but I have a whole analysis on my channel. I don't think it was the best performance that Axl's done, but I think it'll only get better from here. So I'm probably going to wrap it up here in a few minutes. Do you guys have any other questions? Just let me know in the chat. And let me know what your thoughts are on some of the ideas that I floated. And and then if you guys want me to do any true stories of, maybe some certain Guns N' Roses songs or maybe some albums or events, just let me know in the chat or in the comments. And then I can see which one's the most popular. I think looking at a lot of the comments for the true story, I think probably the most popular song you guys are requesting is Locomotive. So I've looked into it. Locomotive doesn't have a lot of history about it, so it won't be a very long episode. But I'm definitely going to get to that. I'm trying to finish up all the Illusions material first, and then moving on to Appetite after that. But oh, sorry. You know what, guys? My fault. I just noticed the chat window wasn't scrolled all the way down. So I'm just right now looking at what some of your comments are. Have you heard the setlist change? Thanks for all the nice comments, guys, too. It really makes the world of difference. David wants to know review of Mark Cantor's book, Road to Destruction. I think he maybe means Reckless Road. You know what? I have the book and I still have to read through a lot of it. I hope to do it at some point in time. Would you like to see GNR change up the set list for their shows? It's basically the same in the entire tour. Ethan's saying, I agree. I want them to change it. There's a ton of songs I'd love to see them play. I know a lot of people complain that they do too many covers, and I kind of agree with that. But, they do so many covers, so Axl can probably go backstage, take a rest and stuff. I'd like to see them throw in some songs like So Fine, maybe where Axl's not so involved on vocals. I wouldn't mind to see them do Dust and Bones. They did Dust and Bones when Izzy wasn't in the band at a show in Memphis back in 1992, and I imagine Duff probably sang lead vocals, so I think that would be cool to see. I'd love to see Breakdown, Locomotive, you name it. Anything from their deeper catalog, Garden, I'd like to see them do. So there's definitely a ton of songs I'd like to see them play. I am getting kind of sick of the same songs the entire tour. If you guys watch any of the Use Your Illusion interviews, when they first started doing the actual tour, they kept bragging about how, they never use a set list and they change it up every night. And, now they've become everything that they didn't like, in the past. So somebody was saying, I really like to see them play Locomotive, extremely underrated song. Politely, what is your wife's age? My wife's age, we're both 30, so we're pretty old. I feel really old anyways. As the tour goes on after the break, Axl gets better. You guys are saying, I agree with that. As the tour goes on, Axl's going to be in tip-top shape. It's just kind of disappointing. He sings the AC/DC songs better than he does the Guns N' Roses songs. Radio Solus wants to see do something on the Rumbo tapes. Not a lot of info. That's a good idea. I definitely look into that. I know I've seen some of the Rumbo tapes on YouTube, but I haven't. I honestly don't know a bunch of information about it. So I know a lot of the features I've done. I've learned a ton of info researching a lot of it. Will says a big thing that made the last tour great was the pyro. Yeah, you know what? I think, when you see some of the user illusion footage I've seen, like there wasn't a ton of pyro, so I'm kind of looking forward to going and seeing them and seeing how much pyro there is. And it seems like some of you guys have Reckless Road. You guys seem to really enjoy the book. I actually, when I do the review of photographic history, I sort of compare Reckless Road to whatever I've read of it so far to photographic history. And I think Reckless Road is a much better laid out book. And, there's actually, of course, more to read. Photographic history has like barely any text in it, and it's just photos. And there's also a lot of errors with the captions in it too, like the years are wrong and stuff. But somebody said, okay, Tim would say, would you like to see Dave Grohl jam with the Guns on stage? I would love to see that. I'm kind of surprised it didn't happen because you guys know that Dave lent his throne to Axl for the Vegas shows and some of the other shows. And Dave Grohl and Taylor Hawkins were in the audience for one of the Vegas shows, but I guess for whatever reason, they didn't go jam on stage. But as you guys know, Dave Grohl has openly said he's not a Guns N' Roses fan. So, and he even said he doesn't know how to play their songs. So I don't know if that would ever happen. I could see, Slash has jammed with the Foo Fighters before on Dave Grohl's birthday. So you guys can go check that out if you guys haven't seen it. Steven says, honestly, I don't think his vocal was that terrible I think he's referring to last night. It wasn't perfect, but I've heard worse from Axl in the past. Let's not forget his age. There was a couple of good moments from whatever I saw, like Civil War was, he was getting some rasp in his voice. Jungle wasn't too bad from whatever I heard. Tamara Fobbs is asking, are there any songs you want them to stop doing? The One Gun song that I just don't really care much for, I think it's better than the original, is Live and Let Die. Like I could honestly I'd be fine with them if they stopped doing that. I was thinking about Coma. Coma is a great song, but I'm like, do they have to play it every night? I wish they could replace it with like Breakdown, but Coma is another great song. Let's see. There's a great channel. Thanks for all you do. Thanks for all the nice comments, guys. It definitely makes getting up at 4 a.m. totally worth it. Joe asked, why do you think Axl sings AC/DC songs better than his own? Is his own music harder? I'm not a vocalist, but if I had to guess, I would say the AC/DC songs are much easier to sing. I don't think there's as much melody to their songs. Maybe there's not as much vocal range required because, you listen to some songs on, the Guns records, they sound a lot quite different, especially the Illusions records. I think they're just easier to sing. Justin wants to know, not sure if you already covered this, but is there chances of a new album or new recordings from the current lineup? Thanks for all your hard work. You know what? I think if you're going to see a Guns N' Roses album, it'll probably happen in late 2017 or sometime in 2018. But I mean, you guys have to remember too, like the music industry isn't what it used to be. Like Metallica put out an album and it sold 300,000 copies in its first week, which is really good according to today's standards. But if they released that album like 20 years ago, they would have sold like, I don't know, 1 million copies in their first week. I mean, it's hard to make money off of new albums. And, on one hand, I'd love to see it. And I think it gives them a reason to tour. But I mean, who knows? Guns could be a nostalgia act for the rest of their career and just tour for the rest of their career and not put out any new material. So I don't know. I mean, if they don't put out new material, you can definitely expect Slash and Duff to put out new material in their side projects. And I think Velvet Revolver is probably dead. I mean, I don't think they'll ever revive that. But we'll have to wait and see. I was never a big Velvet Revolver fan. They have a couple of good songs, but let's see some of your other comments. David wrote, wish they would do an acoustic set like Zeppelin used to do, but without Izzy. It's not the same as the Appetite lineup. Well, if you guys remember during the Skin and Bones tour, they did the acoustic set. They play like Used to Love Her, Patience. I think You're Crazy they used to play as well, and Knockin' on Heaven's Door. Steven said, to be honest, I could care less about the vocal. I mean, the biggest rock band ever has reformed, and finally Slash, Duff, and Axl are back at the same page, which I never thought would happen. Yeah, I never thought in a million years they would reunite. But you know what? If Guns N' Roses can reunite, anything is possible in this world. And Radio Solus wrote, Slash wrote all the music for Coma. Axl mentioned he put that back in the set list for him, and that it's a really hard song to sing. It's kind of weird because, in the Illusions days, they never ever played Coma, or they rarely did it. They played it like, I think 4 times in total, but now they're playing it every night. And the Chinese Exchange interview, they said that Axl said that he purposely put it to the set list because it would make Slash happy. Victor wants to know, hello, I'm from Brazil. I would like to know if Guns is thinking about a documentary about this tour, since there are some teasers coming out of the shows, and if chance, can they make a documentary? You know what? I've heard rumors that they're working on a documentary. If you guys remember the LA show that they played where Steven Adler was there was some sign about filming in progress, and they had like a notice signed to all the attendees. I think there's going to be a documentary released. And, Viter Lima has a good point. If you guys know, during the Use Your Illusion tour, they had like camera crews with them everywhere they went. So they have 2.5 years of footage sitting in a vault, which was going to be released back in like the mid 90s. It was going to be called Perfect Crime, but it never got released. If I had to have one thing happen to this whole reunion, I would want that documentary released. And, now that the partnership's working again, who knows, we could definitely see it. Michael wants to know, what songs would you like to hear them play live? Number one on my list is probably Breakdown. I've been listening to that song like nonstop. And then I skipped the chorus and I skipped the ending, but I listened to everything else on the song. It's really good. I think there's going to be a tour DVD coming out at some point. Maybe that's how they're going to honor the Appetite for Destruction 30th anniversary. Bailey says, it's weird that this tour has been very successful and they've barely promoted it. You know what? I've been thinking about this. A lot of people are saying, why isn't Guns N' Roses doing press? I don't think they even need to do press. I mean, just the news headline of Guns N' Roses is getting back together is enough to sell tickets. I don't have to see a press interview for me to go. I mean, I talked to a bunch of people who are not diehard fans like we are. And yeah, the minute they hear that they're reuniting, they don't care about press. I mean, now with social media and whatnot, I mean, there's no reason for them to do press if they're selling out stadiums. But I think once you see Slash and Duff go back to their solo projects, that's when the press is going to definitely be picking up, because, those bands are not as successful and they're going to get pelted with Guns N' Roses questions. Now, the one thing I want to let you guys know, if you don't know, Steven Adler is going to be doing an AMA on Reddit next Friday, I believe. And I think it's just largely to promote his mom's book. So I think there could be a lot of interesting information coming out of that. Now, it's up to him in terms of what questions he wants to answer. But, the reunion questions are going to be coming up. The Izzy question is going to be coming up. So whatever comes out of that interview on Reddit, I'll definitely keep you guys posted and give you just like sheet notes of whatever Steven says. I'm kind of curious to know how good his mom's book is going to be. But I'm probably going to wrap this up here since I have to leave in a bit, but I'll maybe answer one more question. Tamara says, I think it has a lot to do with people wanting to see Axl if Axl flips this shit. Yeah, you know what? I'm waiting for that. I'm waiting for the moment where there's going to be like an Axl rant or something of him walking off stage, but he's been, and I'll tell you, this is like the happiest I've ever seen him on stage. We just got an influx of questions, guys. So somebody was asking me if I was at Osaka. No, I've never been to Japan. Hope to go at some point in time. Frass wants to know, how many shows have you been to? As you say, you are bored of the set list. They don't do shows for YouTube. Yeah, I'm going to see Guns N' Roses for the first time in August. But I know there's a bunch of people. And you know what? That's a fair criticism. A lot of people say, well, they're going to do whatever they feel like, but I feel like when you're paying $250 for a ticket, especially for a good ticket, that it's a shame that fans don't have a say in the set list. Is this present in Osaka? No, this isn't present in Osaka. So I'll do one more question for you guys. Bailey says maybe Axl will flip out in St. Louis. I think St. Louis is going to be the first show where Axl will probably have a little more interaction with the audience. He, of course, is probably going to talk about the riot, because when he played Montreal years back, like after the 92 riot, he seemed to actually bring it up. And I think when he played Philly back in 2012, he brought up the Philadelphia riot back in like 2002. So that basically is going to wrap up today's live stream, guys. If you guys have tuned in this far, there's going to be another podcast tomorrow, and where we'll have a new guest on, and we'll be talking about Guns N' Roses' second that's coming out probably in the next day or so. So thanks, guys, for getting 4,000 subscribers. It means a lot. And hopefully you end up coming to my channel. So take care. We'll see you guys tomorrow.